And hello, everyone. Only 2 years later, we have WoDCast number 9 for you. Like a good bunch of vampires, we happen to take our time. So, yes, this is WoDCast number 9 coming back to you live from the proverbial grave. We are going to be doing this again probably every 3-4 weeks like we did with the last WoDCast. And let me introduce our esteemed panel. Of course, I got my right-hand man, Donovan, a.k.a. Brian. We have a very special guest, my internet crush, Downey DeVere from Europe, LARPer extraordinaire. And then we have one of our newest members from the World of Darkness news team, our newest reporter, Patrick. So, let's just do a quick catch-up. Ladies first. Downey, just feel free to talk a little bit about yourself. Tell us, what you are, where you're going, LARP-wise, RPG-wise, vampire-wise, and just give us a little intro of who you are.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Downey. I've been a huge World of Darkness fan since forever. 15 years ago, I used to manage the biggest Spanish-speaking community for World of Darkness, and currently I'm the publisher of World of Darkness for Spanish-speaking countries. Trying also to do the Portuguese thing. Let's see if it's possible. In my spare time, I also do the V20 Europe site. I manage that Facebook page, which started when I was asked to help distribute the V20 in Europe. I started that 5 years ago. So yeah, and I'm a video games developer. That's what I do, and that's my main job. And what else? And well, I have also modeled for World of Darkness. So I'm the Tremere stereotype on the V20 book, also the image on the Blood Bond on the V20 book. I was also one of the forward writers for that book, but I have also models for other World of Darkness book, such as Hunters Hunted 2, in which I am both the vengeful wife and the obsessive detective. And also I was very happy to be the cover for Flowers of Hell and some other books. And yeah, and I'm very, very excited to be here, actually.
Well, thank you. Awesome to have you. I was very excited when I was able to get in touch with you and you were able to join us. Patrick, newest World of Darkness news reporter, give us the lowdown about yourself.
Hi, I'm Patrick. I've been playing World of Darkness products for probably 15 years now. I've played pretty much everything from Vampire, Changeling, Lost. I've also involved in LARPing. I was involved in playtesting Mage the Awakening for the LARP book, which I ran a game of that for 2-3 years. Then I took some time off to start a family, and now I'm currently planning a vampire LARP using the new rules from By Night Studios, which I'm very excited for.
Excellent, excellent. And last but certainly not least, my right-hand man Donovan. Tell us what's been going on with the past couple years, what you've been up to, and what's going on.
Sure. Hi, folks. It's nice to be broadcasting again. I'm Brian. I go by Donovan on the site. I've been role-playing since forever. I've been doing the vampire since it pretty much came out in the 90s, so it's near and dear to my heart. I was involved with the playtesting for New World of Darkness, and that's what I love a little bit more, but that's okay. I still like Old World of Darkness too, or sorry, Classic World, or whatever they go by now. So I have been a local storyteller for the Mind's Eye Society. I've been a regional storyteller for the Mind's Eye Society. I was in the running for a national assistant national storyteller, but it just didn't pan out. Um, I've been doing that for the last 5 years. I started my own domain in Michigan, and it's been both frustrating and incredibly rewarding. It's nice to get a bunch of people together, but at the same time, sometimes when something goes wrong and you're so personally invested, it just makes you want to kill. Um, I took some time off recently, sort of just took a step back from all of my positions inside the club so that I could finish up my master's degree, which I did. I'm an instrumental music teacher with a jazz specialization. That's what I really enjoy doing when I'm not LARPing. So yeah, I I'm the director of bands at a local high school, and I'm the director of jazz too. So I love life. We bought a house in the last year. My wife and I moved into a pretty big ass place. I'm currently sitting in my office, which is a turret, which I love. But yeah, it's been good.
Awesome, awesome. As for myself, very quickly, I've been into pen and paper role-playing games since the early 80s. Got into Vampire about the mid-90s. And I've done a lot of dealing with role-playing, both when it comes to online as well as, of course, tabletop. So I've played everything from Shadowrun to Vampire to Stalking the Night Fantastic, Gamma World, and all those great 80s and 90s role-playing games. Forgive me if my voice breaks or such. I just there's a bit of a cold or flu going around, and I woke up this morning, I should say, with it. So normally we are lushes on the WoDCast, as longtime viewers will know. However, today, tea and honey. And I think we're all not partaking in alcohol. Is that correct, guys?
No, I couldn't help myself. It's almost 1 o'clock here, so
Oh, Donovan.
yeah, sorry.
Donovan keeping it real on the WoDCast. Keeping it real, guy. All right. Now, very quickly, World of Darkness News.net, .net, yeah. I'm so used to this muscle memory saying the old website. World of Darkness.news is our new World of Darkness news website. World of Darkness.news. I decided to bring it back. Basically, once the purchase by Paradox from CCP of the World of Darkness and related properties happened, I decided there was definitely a niche for this. And so I decided that bringing the site back with the MMO that had collapsed, there was no need for the old site anymore, obviously. But I figure with the new property owners, they're really very aggressive with licensing it out. So I felt this was a good time to bring a site back that focuses specifically on White Wolf and Vampire the Masquerade properties proper. So I got in touch with Donovan, and he seemed he was all on board.
Always.
Yeah, he seemed to like the idea. So we decided to relaunch the site fresh. We got a lot of the old gang is back together, as you will know once you go to the site. We're just rebuilt. We're, of course, still in the rebuilding phase, but we've already nailed a few good interviews, which we're definitely going to talk about in a little bit. So anyway, that's the deal. So let's get right. We got a lot to talk about, and we'll go as long as we can because we got a lot of topics. So the first thing, let me throw it to Downey, and then we'll go to Patrick, and then we'll go to Donovan. Initially, what's your thoughts about CCP selling the Vampire and related World of Darkness, I should say, in general properties? big picture wise, what's your thoughts about what transpired, what went down at the turn of the year, and generally where do you see the situation going?
So, hey, Michelle go here. Hello, Michelle. So, I thought it was great that CCP chose Paradox to take care of the brand. I didn't really know the CEO, Tobias Jogren. I know him now, but I knew Martin Eriksson, the lead storyteller, and he had already been working on the World of Darkness MMO. And I thought, I mean, it couldn't have gone to any place else that was better than that. So I was initially very happy. Then I got to meet them as a team, as a new White Wolf team at the Tenere Noctis, which is an event that I organized and took place in December. It was a World of Darkness event, and that's the place where White Wolf took advantage and presented their very first news to the world. And I thought that Martin, together with Tobias, makes such a great team. Martin with his creativity, and Tobias is a very sensible guy that is very, I think, focused, and they can actually deliver what they're promising, which is getting World of Darkness to be as big as Marvel, for example. And I think they can do that. And so I have very, very high hopes. And I'm, of course, very happy as a fan.
Awesome. Patrick, what's your overall thoughts about the whole situation?
I think ultimately it'll be a really good thing for the World of Darkness. I think it's true what Dee just said about them getting a more global presence. I think a lot of people in the world that know about the World of Darkness are fans, but I think there's a lot of people out there that probably don't even know it exists, which is kind of sad because it hasn't really had a store shelf presence in so long. I think it's been harder for them to attract new players, and I also like the idea of that. The Paradox has all the assets for the MMO, so I'm really excited about the possibility of that being rebooted and continued, as well as the ideas of getting a successor to Bloodlines would be amazing, as well as all the other ambitious plans they had. I've heard rumors they're talking about a Netflix series, which I would totally watch. I mean, it can't be worse than Kindred the Embraced.
Dun dun dun.
So ultimately, I think it'll definitely be a good thing for the brand.
Awesome. And we are joined my girl, Lady Keita, aka Michelle. Oh, Michelle, can we hear you? We can't hear you, Michelle.
Just so everyone knows, Peter introduces all the females as his girl.
Oh my God! Really, Donovan? Really? We're really going this early in the WoDCast, and you're throwing me into the. Okay. I see how we're playing. I mean, my girl is my friend, my female friend. Oh.
We're on to you.
You're killing me, dude. Lady Keita, Michelle, we can't hear you, sweetie. We can't hear you. No sound. No sound for you.
Well, just keep shouting into the void, and when we start hearing you, then we'll pause.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, now we can. Oh no.
Cool. There we go.
Yes.
I had to switch the microphone array. There we go.
Oh my God.
Ah.
Are you like live reporting from somewhere? I don't understand what's happening right now.
No,
it's like live reporting outside for us, Donovan.
No, I'm out in Spectrum. Okay, so I started at Obsidian 3 weeks ago on the new Pathfinder game.
And congratulations. We're very proud of you.
Thank you. But where I'm living doesn't have a fridge, so I have to go out for breakfast every morning, so that's why I'm here. And I was sick yesterday, so I'm going into work. So that there's enough people here who would kill for Bloodlines 2. Let's just put it that way. And Paradox is their publisher, so any comment I have is, it, I was a little worried originally just because of some of the comments that were made towards Onyx Path. But after talking to some of my friends back in Atlanta and some other, since after CCP kind of broke everybody up, everyone scattered, but talking to people, there's kind of an enthusiastic optimism. But yeah, I mean, I'd kill to get work on Bloodlines 2 if we got that, just because of how many people who worked on. One of my producers worked on Bloodlines 1, so there's enough around Obsidian. Usually I'm wearing my choker, but it was one of those things that enough people around Obsidian, you'll just see a bunch of White Wolf shirts, etc., and I'll be like, oh cool, this is home.
Now, just so for anyone who is just joining us or is just watching this and is not familiar with the previous WoDCast, Michelle is our resident game developer, and as she already just said, she just recently got employed by Obsidian Entertainment, which is exciting, which is very exciting, and we're very happy of her. And of course. Donovan and I are going to take some credit for that because it seems like everyone we bring on the WoDCast gets an awesome job. That's all I'm saying. Somehow they get an awesome job in the industry.
Dude,
so
I was sitting there I was on my wit's end, and then Shane put my name in for this, and I found out afterwards they had interviewed a ton of systems designers, most of the senior titles, etc. And they're like, nope, we want her. And I'm still like, are you sure you didn't get the wrong Michelle?
That's all.
That's super cool.
In all seriousness, at least I can just speak for myself. I'm very proud of you, and I'm so happy for you that you got the job that you always wanted. I'm
and you just want it so you can hit on more of my coworkers that you have man crushes on.
That's it.
Oh, that too. I mean, you do have Tim fucking Kane right there.
Who really
so,
likes
yeah,
chocolate.
Not gonna lie.
Really, really likes chocolate. No, I'm not kidding. I didn't even realize it was Tim Kane that I had a discussion with about coffee that led into chocolate, and it turns out he runs a chocolate blog.
I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, he's a total sweetheart, but loves chocolate. And I had a box of Frango Mints on my desk, and I was like, hold on, I've got these awesome chocolates. And he hadn't had one in 10 years, so my first conversation with Tim Kane was about chocolate.
The father of the post-apocalyptic CRPG, and okay.
I talked to him about chocolate.
There we go. Brian, my friend. Overall, your overall thoughts about the purchase and what transpired turn of the year?
Oh, I'm super excited about the purchase and the potential update to World of Darkness, getting away from that 90s punk everything venue. That was one of my biggest turnoffs, and I know Peter's got a completely different mindset about that. But it's one of my biggest turnoffs to old World of Darkness is it just smacks of the 90s. It's just like, hey, let's play a game that's 20 freaking years old. It's like going to a theme party, that's set 20 years ago. It's fun sometimes, but you don't want to go to the same party every time because, come on, that was 20 years ago.
We're actually gonna delve into the interviews that they actually get into that. I personally get where you're coming from, and I don't necessarily disagree with you.
Yes, you do. Don't lie.
No, I really don't.
I would straight up disagree with him.
That's fine.
Yeah,
You're allowed.
I don't necessarily. I believe there should be a happy middle ground. I guess that's the best way to describe my position. I don't think the total eradication of the whole gothic punk aesthetic should be purged, but definitely, I think you could argue a less is more approach would be more appropriate for this time period. But we'll get when we talk about the interviews, we'll definitely dive because I did pose to Martin when we had our interview. We did pose that question to him about the whole. I outright asked him about the whole his gothic punk is dead statement, and we'll definitely get into that in a little bit. So with that said, now let's talk again a little bit about specifics. We'll start off with Patrick. What do you think are going? Because actually, and Donovan actually kind of segued into this question a little bit. In fact, nicely. What do you think is going to be some of the biggest challenges for White Wolf when it comes to the Masquerade property, and specifically V4 that they're in development right now? What do you think are going to be some of their biggest challenges and some of the missteps they're hoping to avoid that the old White Wolf did?
Ooh, I guess a lot of some of the big challenges will probably be just trying to appeal to a new audience and not alienating the old one. Because I think if too many changes are made, as you probably are aware, they have a rabid fan base. And I think if they make too many changes,
I have no idea what you're talking about, Ben. What the hell are you talking about? No.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really tough balancing act because they're going to have to bring it more into the modern age, make it a little bit more contemporary. Like Brian was saying, it's an old product. It's showing its age. So they're going to have to try to bring the storyline forward enough, but in a way that doesn't alienate a lot of long-time players. So I think they're going to have to do more than just kind of slap a new coat of paint on it. I'm curious to see how they advance the storyline, talking about with like Gehenna and the Apocalypse or whatever their plans are for that. I think they're kind of vague, obviously, because I don't think they haven't really set yet. But I'm really curious to see how they advance the storyline. They seem really set on having a really strong core storyline and having that be a basis for all their products, which I think will be a strength. But like I said, I'm not sure how they're going to do it in a way that doesn't alienate the new players who seem very resistant to any sort of change.
Yeah.
Which personally, I don't mind change. I think a lot of the changes other products have come out with have been good. But I'm really curious to see how they advance the vampire.
Fair enough. Michelle, what's your thoughts on the topic?
Well, first off, they might run into the issue that you see with Dungeons and Dragons that led to kind of Pathfinder's inception. Is that you have this new generation, you're trying to redo it so that you can bring new players in, but you're also looking to expand the property. Now, what this causes is you can have a transmedia property where you have all the storylines interconnected in a world. So Star Wars, you think, where you have all these different storylines, you have all these different generations, etc., and they all meet together with the same theme. Or you can have a single story or a single storyline property like that they're trying to do with Halo. I'm thinking they're going more towards the transmedia property where everything fits into one giant world and can interconnect. The complications with this means that your actual world Bible becomes about that thick, which means with all the rules, etc., making sure everything stays in line with the property. It's a very complex process. However, with like actual properties that have come out and successfully done it, they kind of have a lot to build on there, along with like 25 years of lore. And still working with some of the older devs along with the new generation that's kind of come up. I mean, you look at who's in by Night Studios, etc., you're looking at a much younger crowd in development who knows what exactly is going on with the fans, the new fans, the old fans, and what people think of it now with this generation. Working currently on taking a tabletop game and taking it digital, especially since they're looking at doing tabletop games, but also digital, you run into complications that digital games while games can be only judged on their intent, digital games are judged on intent and execution. So that's where they're going to run into issues there. And that's very, very difficult at learning. Because
can I interject there? So you're talking about like world building, this relaunch of this property, and you even mentioned that the Bible of building a redo and making it what the fans want is going to make it huge. Don't you have you noticed that there has been more games that have been made recently? Now these are new games, but everything is all inclusive inside a relatively small core book, like Tavern Tales, for example, which the Kickstarter is doing really well for, and other games in that
I'm going
sort
to
of
stop you
vein.
right there. I'm going to stop you right there is because you literally just mentioned why they're so small, and it's because it's the first. And when you're dealing with just the first, rather than having 25 years of expectations, it's a totally different, like a completely different issue. When you have that first one, you're starting out an IP without expectations, you have a lot more flexibility. Versus when you're taking an older IP to which there are expectations in place. Completely different story because you not only can't alienate the old fans. Once again, I go back to D&D, which is when Wizards took it and go, let's make it simple for new fans. They completely wrecked the old fans. Which, when you look at Pathfinder, when that came out, you're seeing something that takes the disadvantage of the disadvantages and turns them into advantages. And I think my feed just died.
No, we gotcha.
Okay, cool. Then just individuals. That's fine. But when you when you have that happen, you have a player base with expectations, and you have a player base with kind of sort of expectations, and you're not sure where they're pulling from. When you have a completely fresh new IP, so much easier. Just because there's no fan base with no expectations. So to meet their expectations, unless you have like a designer or a developer that is a name that has certain expectations attached to them, there's nothing there to worry about. You can kind of go in and go, we're going to fuck this part up just because we know it is, or we can cut corners here because we just don't have time, and there's no one you don't have to worry about it because it's new. But like I said, 25 years. 25 years of World of Darkness. So you're dealing with literally a story Bible where anybody could be coming in from anywhere with different expectations in that story Bible.
Yeah, and I agree with you on a lot of those points. I don't agree that having 25 years of backstory is necessarily a good thing.
Well, no, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying it's a thing. It's something you have to
Yeah.
deal with and
Well,
take into account.
and I think that was one of New World's big strengths is that they didn't need that.
Yeah, because everybody died. It was Gehenna.
D, what's your thoughts on this topic?
So with that, with New World, when it came in, you had a fresh start.
No, well, I mean, never mind. Never mind. I'm not actually talking about Gehenna.
Yeah. D, what's your thoughts on V4 and the challenges they may encounter?
So first thing, I don't think we should be calling it V4 because I don't think, I mean, they haven't decided the name yet. V4 is what Onyx Path was going to publish, but now it's a completely different thing, and we don't even know what name it will have or anything. But Patrick and Michelle have already pointed out the biggest challenges, and yes, it's like how get to the mass audience without alienating the current fan base. That's a super massive challenge that they're going to have to overcome. And yeah.
And
as Michelle said, I mean, it's very the fact that you have 25 years history and that you have to please the fans having that on account. It's even more difficult to balance when you already have your fans, your fan base, and how it's going to be super challenging. But I think I'm very hopeful that they are up to the task, and they are very open and communicating very well with the fan community. I think they're doing that fine, and they will do better when they have more people in the team, maybe with a community manager or something. But yeah, I think they're doing pretty well. Also, listening to what people think. So that's very important. So I think they're on the good track here.
That's fair. I would love to say, hey, here is a roadmap to the solution. Unfortunately, I don't think there is any easy solution to this quandary.
No.
They find themselves. There really isn't. Every point everyone brought up before me, I totally agree with. And I think that is the conundrum they find themselves in. If we do this, we're going to alienate this group of this part of the community. If we do that, we're going to alienate this other part of the community. And so I don't think there is, one, I don't think there's a right answer. And B, I don't think there's a universal answer. I don't think there is anything they can do that is going to please everyone. For all the previous reasons already mentioned. I think they're going to have to say, okay, this is the vision we see. This is where we're going to go down, and we're just going to accept that some people are not going to come along for the ride. And if they do that, I think that's probably the best possible outcome. The worst thing they can do is develop by committee. They say, oh, we're going to do this. The community, part of the community gets an uproar, so they change direction. Then this part of the community gets an uproar, so they try to change, and then it just becomes this mess of like spaghetti development per se. And we've all seen it. We've all seen developers do that, whether it's tabletop, whether it's PC gaming, or something. We've all seen developers do that. They develop by committee, and that's just that is something they're just going to have to get a vision, get a plan, and stick with it, and just accept the fact that there's going to be some elements of the community that are going to be upset, and there's nothing they can do about that.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Actually,
My problem. Go ahead.
I was going to say there's actually a great quote for that exactly, which is the player is only sort of right. Which that is that you'll find something that is broken in the game, or you'll see players consistently say something is broken, and a lot of times it's not that thing, and it's something completely different that's actually needs to be rebalanced, etc., or it's a whole system that needs to be redone. One great example that I hate using, but I'm going to use it, is Paladins in World of Warcraft, when those were completely misbalanced.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
We lost your audio, Michelle. Internet problems. All right.
Well.
Yeah, Patrick.
Yes.
Yes. Have the final word. Bring it home. Have the final word. Taking everything into consideration that's just been said. Have the final word on this topic.
I agree with what everyone said, but I think definitely it comes down to what you were just saying, Peter, where they're really just going to have to formulate what their vision is and stick with it, and they're going to have to decide. Some players aren't going to like it, and some players will, but they'll just have to go with it.
They got to be committed.
Ultimately, you try to please everybody, you please nobody.
Exactly, and that's my biggest fear. Any developer is, we don't want to upset this because thinking of we'll lose sales, but if you try to please there's no way you're going to please it, especially like what Michelle was saying, and and Donovan and everything about this, this 20 and D, that there's 25 years of lore and history and such, and you can't, that comes inherently with a lot of baggage. And
yeah, not even everyone agrees on the 25 years history on every. Some people decide to, that doesn't happen in my games and things like that. So they don't even agree.
There are whole clubs that don't agree on the history. Like we were talking about earlier, that Downey and I are part of the Camarilla fan club, and we just at least in the Mind's Eye Society, we threw out the Week of Nightmares. Like it never happened. It's a major plot point, and so there are parts of the history that just nobody agrees on.
All right, so let's move on to our next topic, which should be very interesting. Martin from the new White Wolf He had 2 interviews. One with Emma Jo. I have no idea how to pronounce that.
Imogenon.
Sure, we'll go with that. Thank you, Dee. .org, and with us as a follow-up. I purposely reached out to him to get a to get a follow-up because his first interview with that site created a lot of controversy, a lot of internet rage for various reasons. And so he had a follow-up interview with us, which I definitely think, apparently from the feedback I've read, went over a lot better. Which is I'm happy. I'm glad that what I asked and his responses were more nuanced and relieved some people. But Martin, the lead storyteller of the new White Wolf, he said a few controversial things in his initial interview. One, he said that after the initial sales of Vampire Requiem had ultimately sold very poorly and would make more of a business sense to axe that line and focus on Masquerade than continue to round, but they decided to keep it.
Good
Keep
choice.
it around. No, absolutely. And the second thing that caused a lot of rage among some people. I was taken aback. If anyone saw my post, I certainly wasn't in a net rage about it, but I certainly had my concerns. He said ultimately Gothic Punk is dead.
Yay!
Oh, jeez. So I'll go. I'll let everyone have their say. I'll throw in my 2 cents, and then I'll give everyone a chance to retort. I know you're biting at the chip, Donovan. So we'll start with you, then we'll go to Dee, then we'll go to Patrick. Go ahead, take it, Donovan.
Yay! Okay. Here's the thing. I will say this until I'm blue in the face. All of the classic World of Darkness players that just do nothing besides pee on New World of Darkness, you guys are so stuck in your ways. Like, come on. Dear God, give something new a chance. Now, I mean, I was in the same boat when it came, like, old school D&D. Like, I played 1st and 2nd edition D&D, and when they moved to 3rd, I was spitting fire.
You were like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but, I let go of it, okay? And
in fairness, 3.5, and just not to segue, but just in fairness, by the time 3.5 came out, it was actually a very solid game.
Yeah, 3.5. 3 sucked, but they improved it. Okay, let go. Let go of your hate, please. Okay, come back to the light side. Okay, because good Lord, they've really done a whole lot of work to make the game good. Okay, and that needs to be respected at least. Constantly pissing on New World is just so beneath everyone. Okay, get over it. Plus, now that we're getting the division between World of Darkness and Chronicles of Darkness promises to be much different. And if you've read anything out of like God Machine Chronicles or anything like that, New World 2.0 is going to be so much different, and I think it's going to be a lot better too. So please, give it a chance. And I know it's just me pleading with everyone to stop being so stuck in their ways, but do it anyway.
But what about the core points of the interview itself? What are your thoughts about his
Goth is dead? Or are we talking
both his comments about the sales about Requiem and his Gothic Punk is dead? What are your thoughts?
I mean, numbers don't lie. If they say that New World sold badly after the initial run, then that's probably true. And judging from the general community outcry of we hate this, it's terrible, they're probably not wrong. Well, they had to have no reason to say one thing and it not be true.
Right.
But at the same time, it's a very active community. Those of us that do play World or New World, you know, it's not it's not like there's a small group of people that play Requiem. It's still a very active community. So, I mean, I really appreciate their continuing the line. So that's a good thing. But it, it's I think in general, Old World, yes, has more longevity just because it's been able to sell more over a period of time. And it companies, yeah, while they really appreciate those, sudden influxes of cash, like when New World initially came out, if that dies off, then they're screwed. So if they're marketing more old world stuff and it's selling better, then that's what they have to go with because they need the constant cash influx in order to stay afloat themselves.
It's a business, bottom line.
They can't they can't keep making like improvements to New World or new books for Old World if they don't get money. Like it costs money to make these things, and I think that
No. Is that
yeah,
how economics works, really?
it is. Yes, it costs money to make money.
Shocking.
Um,
You heard it
so-
here first on WoDCast number 9. It takes money to make money.
Yeah.
I know no one else has ever said that in the history of man.
Big shock. And then if I'm moving on to the
Yeah, now I know you've been biting at the
Yeah.
so go do it. Just get it all out. Get it all out of your chest, Donovan.
Okay.
Come on, do it.
Goth is dead. Long live every other goddamn design out there, please. Jesus Christ. I hated that shit as far as like the old World of Darkness. Oh, like so I started LARPing with New World of Darkness and then I joined the old World of Darkness side of the LARP and I walked into that venue for the first time like I was playing a Ventru, of course, but at the same time like, I dressed nice and I had like a colored shirt on and a nice suit and all that shit. And I'm looking at everybody else and it's either just they are completely black with goddamn like spikes and dog collars and shit, or they're like completely red. I'm like, okay, so we're going with like 2 goddamn colors here. There's a whole world of goddamn colors out there, people. Like, come on, let's go. Get off your, British punk scene, early 90s bar
Okay.
crawl crap. I was pissed. I'm like, stop it. Everybody looks stupid in top hats. Stop wearing top hats.
Okay. Now let me just say, I do need to somewhat interject here. I think there's 2 valid points that come from your statement.
Top hats are stupid.
As someone part of the real life goth culture myself, and you can see I'm not all in black. Look at that,
Well done.
amazing.
Well done.
What?
I said,
What?
Good job. Way to not just wear black.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, granted, 80% of my wardrobe is black, but I have reds and purples and dark blues, and believe it or not, there are. Yeah, see, exactly. Now, as a god, let me just say a couple quick things, and then we'll get to D. There are about 2 dozens in the fashion branch of the goth subculture. There's about 2 dozen styles. You got everything from what you were talking about, the classic punk goth, Donovan. The spikes and the leather pants, and you got that. You got
super heavy eyeshadow.
Yeah, you got that. You have corporate goth. You have Victorian goth. You have vampire goth. You have albino goth. You have cyber goth. You have perky goth. I mean, fairy goth.
Medieval golf.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's like 2 dozen dress styles. Now, is is black prevalent in most of them? Yes, but that's usually just a base color. A lot of these, you'll see dark reds, dark blues, dark purples. You'll see more than just black. Now,
Okay,
the reason I bring that
like-
up, let me just segue to my second point.
Okay.
The reason I think a lot of these people, these LARPers, who, they think, oh, I gotta dress goth, and they just head to toe black, is because they're not part of the subculture. They don't understand. they've been programmed by mass media and TV programs and movies and everything that, oh, goth is just black, period, and they don't understand the nuances of the subculture. So I think part of the problem, and I agree that that's pretty silly, and I am not defending that situation at all to you. I think it's pretty hilarious myself, but I think part of the problem is it's just an education thing. It's just an ignorance thing. They just, they don't understand that, you can wear reds and blues and purples and I mean, if you even go to, if you look at cybergoths, they wear
All kinds
they
of
wear
bright
bright.
colors.
Right, they wear bright fluorescent colors. So it's saying goth. If goth is all nothing but black, that's a very, very narrow and definitely arguable point that that's even accurate.
Okay.
Are there are there some sects? You could argue like the mopey goths and those guys, they only wear black. Okay, yeah, sure. But, I mean, generally speaking, there's a lot more colors than black to goth. So I think part of the problem is that they just haven't done their research. And they're just
but
saying,
even
oh,
you said that black is a base color for, most of these, subgenres of goth culture. Okay, if you walk into an old world game, dark colors, okay, super dark colors, fine, okay. If you walk into a new world game, people look different. Not everyone looks like they're in the same goddamn clan, and you have to look at their frickin' lapel and see what pin they're frickin' wearing.
and
Okay?
I'm not defending that. I totally agree that they
People
should
need to
be a little
costume,
bit more
goddammit.
imaginative. Yeah,
If you're
they
if
should
you're a
have more
frickin'
imagination.
Toreador, look the part, goddammit. Don't wear black on black or dark reds and dark blues and shit like that. Like, you're supposed to be vibrant. You're the most frickin' human of the clans, or at least you try to be.
Yeah.
Get out there. Put yourselves out there, people. Damn it. Wear some frickin' color.
All right, D, go for it. I don't know what else. You take it home, D. Take it home.
Okay, so regarding Requiem sales, I mean, it's not an opinion. It's not a matter of opinion. It's just the truth. In Europe, Requiem did very, 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 very badly, and it was hated. It's just how it is. It's not that Martin says that because he hates it. It's just the general feeling. I mean, I'm the publisher of World of Darkness in Spain for Spanish-speaking countries, and I mean, it's not that people is interested in what was New World of Darkness, because when it came out, they hated it. They saw it. It was a lack of communication, due to the different languages. Something was lost in translation. So when the time of judgment came, people thought that was merely a narrative thing. They didn't think it was actually the end of everything, Old World of Darkness. So it came as a very, very nasty surprise when they found out that they were closing all the lines. And the next thing that they saw was the New World of Darkness, that were basically trumping on everything that they had loved, using very similar names and very similar themes and such. And so they hated for that. And they didn't even give it an opportunity. We only have 4 New World of Darkness books published in Spanish because no one cared about that. And this is not only in Spain, it's also in France, in Germany, in Italy. It's just how it is. So this is why he said that. It's not that he personally hates it or he doesn't value it. It's just the numbers. It's just the numbers. And when in the US, for example, I was surprised when I learned that more or less is 50%, 50% classic World of Darkness, New World of Darkness. When I joined the Camarilla fan club and I learned about that, I was like, this is nothing like Europe. We have maybe 10%, and I feel I'm being generous, New World of Darkness in Europe. It was a huge catastrophe. That is why. It's not only not making money, is that there is not a market, So I think they've been very very generous by keeping it. Not that they should have closed it. I don't think that. I mean, the more lines, the better. But it's just for US people to bear in mind that it was a huge catastrophe anywhere else. So yeah.
Michelle, welcome back. We're
Welcome back.
yay.
Yay!
We're just talking about Martin's interview with us. We're talking about his very first one that caused all the controversy. Then we're going to talk about ours, just so you know where we're at. But we're going to go to Patrick. Then we'll give you a minute to get settled, get your thoughts
Can you
together.
guys hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, cool.
All right. So Patrick, take us home. What's your thoughts on this topic?
Well, as far as the old World of Darkness, New World of Darkness not selling well, I mean, obviously then you just look at the numbers, and I'm sure they can tell you what the truth of that is. But I can't help but think of like some of the other lines in the New World of Darkness. I think did much better than Requiem. For example, like Changeling Lost. When that came out, it was only supposed to be a limited like 2-book line, and they ended up making 7 just based on the popularity of it. And that was before Kickstarter, when every book was kickstarted. So I think that did well. I don't know if it did well enough to make up for everything else. I believe, I agree that Requiem never really caught on the same way as Masquerade did. I know in my circle, most of my friends just absolutely despise Requiem.
Haters.
Even if I bring it up, they sneer at me. and I personally, I like both. I generally prefer Masquerade just because that's what I'm used to. But I think Requiem does have a lot of advantages over it. I did prefer the more sandbox style of play, where it didn't have this big storyline behind it. I think it gave the storyteller a lot more freedom, which I think the New World of Darkness in general had a much stronger sense of that. So, it's like when you come into a Masquerade game, every player has preconceptions of what the storyline is. So it kind of hinders the storyteller. And I think the New World of Darkness really gave you a lot more freedom. So I was kind of disappointed that didn't really do as well as they were expecting. As far as the Martin's interview, I couldn't help but thinking, going into it, I was really hoping that having a new owner for White Wolf would mean, hopefully books back on the shelves. Although his interview really gave the impression that really wasn't going to happen unless the books started selling like hotcakes.
I have to say that in Spanish-speaking countries, we have the books on the brick and mortar stores already. So you go to a store, your traditional store, and the books are there, and it's very, I don't know, it's for me, it makes me happy to see again World of Darkness books on the shelves, and they are there already. So.
Wow.
I can't remember the last time I saw a World of Darkness book on a store shelf.
Yeah.
Everything here in the States is very print-on-demand oriented.
Yeah.
Well, like Barnes and Noble still carries new. Actually, even going back to when I first started playing, you could only at Borders, when that was still there, you could only get New World of Darkness books. You couldn't get Old World of Darkness books. That was part of, I think, the 50%. I had to actually go hunt down brick and mortar stores, and I lived in Atlanta. So, right fucking there, you couldn't get Old World of Darkness books unless you knew where to look. New World of Darkness, though, you could just walk into Borders and they'd be there. So that was kind of, I think, part of the reason for the upsell in the States was they were right there. Versus, like, when I was out in England for a on-site that we're not going to go into, the store right there had like a full line of vampire books right there, like the print-on-demand ones, but they were there in store where you could buy them.
Wow.
So the initial interview that Martin did, what was your initial takeaway, Michelle? Where we were basically talking about the two main points, where basically he said Requiem, after the initial run, Requiem sold very poorly, and there was discussion about even axing the line, which ultimately they decided not to do, and B, that the gothic punk aspect is going to be dead in whatever they're calling their version of V4 now.
I'm I'm cautious on it just because the Gothic punk is a huge part of the World of Darkness. It defined what Gothic punk was. Even when you look at modern vampire stuff, etc., the reason why they could get away with, like, for example, suing Sony Pictures, etc., was they became the defining measure of what Gothic punk and modern horror was. You remove the Gothic punk aspect, you're left with kind of I'm not sure what it is, so it'll be interesting to see. As with Requiem, no, totally agree from a monetary standpoint. It did not do well, but it has its place, it has its purpose, and it has its fans. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Talking with a few other people, there's a little bit of we wait and see what happens, just because it's people who worked on the MMO and are like, wait, what are you doing to my thing? What are you doing?
There are some positive things happening since they changed the name to Chronicles of Darkness, and it's not seen as direct competition with World of Darkness. I've seen more interest in Europe about it. It's like, it's a completely different game, and now that they get it, I see people more open to give it an opportunity, and particularly because of what it was mentioned before, that actually Requiem 2.0, it's great and has great reviews and everything, and it's not only about Requiem, it's Changeling the Lost has something special on it, and some other of the lines that have a lot of value, and maybe people didn't manage to give it an opportunity because of because of what happened, what I explained earlier. But now that those are two separate things, now they are more keen on giving those an opportunity, and I think that's good. So I think that's the first move that White Wolf has made that is having good consequences already. So that's great.
I'll be interested to see how things play out for Europe versus the States, because you are talking about two very, very different markets.
Yeah.
And that'll be the interesting thing, because they've always seemed to be, especially with World of Darkness, been at odds at each other almost. Like, for example, the Requiem versus Old World Darkness, you see 50-50 in the States versus you see almost none of Requiem in Europe. And not even taking Russian numbers into account, because I don't know those, because that's always up in the air. When you see that difference, it's kind of interesting to see where they'll take it, because you are talking now White Wolf being Eurocentric, where before they were in the States. So if it was US-centric market, but you had a publisher that was Icelandic, which puts them smack dab in the middle. Being, well, publisher-ish, still having control, ultimate control.
Michelle, not to break your train of thought, but that's actually a very good point. I'd like to get your thoughts on. Do you think now? Were you here when Dee was explaining how poorly Requiem did in Europe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think that part of the reason? Well, let me rephrase the question. Do you think things would be very different in Europe on that level if Paradox owned the property when Requiem was released? Do you think the scene in Europe would be very different, or do you think it's just a cultural thing that no matter where
I think we would have a very different product.
was?
We would have a very different product because of what was going on internally at the time, and God even knows if Requiem would have been made. It was very much a U.S.-centered product. Like, if you look at the way Requiem is structured, etc., it's very much a U.S.-centered storyline. Storyline. It goes with the whole sandbox mentality of U.S. players. U.S. players prefer that kind of guided sandbox over with simpler rules and things like that. You'll notice it a lot.
Simpler rules? Whoa.
No, I agree in the part of that American players prefer sandbox, and then they make up their own stories within, for example,
exactly.
the game. But simpler rules, no, those are super complicated for Europe.
It's not simpler. It's more, okay, so instead of having rules it's less simpler rules, more, how do I put it? it's a system that gives you gathers a lot of rules, but it gives you freedom to pick and choose. Once again, it goes back to that tabletop thing of you can only be judged on intent. And Requiem very much had the intent to give you all the rules you could possibly need, but made it so that if you removed rules, you could still play it. You can go through, and true of all of World of Darkness, to be honest, you can go through an entire World of Darkness game without rolling a set of dice if you play it almost all RP. I've done it before with a group that was very RP-centered. Versus when you look at TSR originating systems, you can go an entire game without RPing and just keep rolling dice and rolling dice and rolling dice and never have any real character development. That's kind of the thing that you see in Requiem, is that you can go all the way in dice, or you have the option to not go dice at all. Is kind of the easiest way to explain it, at least from my perspective. So because of that, you have a much more sandbox style of play in Requiem, but it also is a sandbox style of play in the system, which can be very confusing to some people, but it also is very freeing for a lot of people. Requiem, I didn't play a lot of, I will admit. It's just because I couldn't find a group, because all of my groups were like, oh no, we're going to play Old World of Darkness. But I freaking love Changeling. So that's kind of the thing there, is that New World of Darkness had that freedom in that way. Is that it was literally, you can play it however the fuck you want, is what it comes down to. Versus Old World of Darkness kind of forced you more towards the RPing side.
All right. Anyone else have anything to say about his first interview before we move on to the interview he did with us?
I want to add on the golf part of the
Yes,
of
go.
the
Yes.
thing. I quite agree with you, Peter, when you said that maybe many people dress in black to try to be super gothy because it's supposed to be a goth punk setting and such. But we haven't mentioned it's not the gothic punk setting is not only about the outfits. It's also about the mood in the streets and that kind of thing. And I don't mind to have, different other tribes with, with flowery garments and things like that, that's I would never
So
wear.
yeah, basically what Donovan wants. He wants everyone running around in hot pink shirts and
I've done that.
cowboy boots. I know, it's okay, Donovan. It's okay, you can be honest.
I had a Malkavian that wore full Lolita, so bright pink dress, you name it.
What is important to me is that they keep this flavor, because I read that Martin said that we already live in this post-apocalypse, post-Gehenna setting. This is a real world, is what it is right now, and it's darker and grimmer than 20 years ago World of Darkness. But I would like them to make a point of it being dark, not just our regular world, because my street is pretty bright and too nice to be World of Darkness, so I don't I don't want that to be World of Darkness, so I prefer to keep it to a dark tone. And also I remember Mary Lee's designs for the World of Darkness MMO, and she was the one that brought us the outfits for the photo shoots in Atlanta for the B20 book for the different clans. And at the time she was working on the outfit side for the characters on the MMO, and you could say they were gothy looking, but they were very futuristic as well, very avant-garde. And I think it would be great if they could keep that trend of being at the forefront, which is something that defined World of Darkness 25 years ago. They were on the forefront. So if they are there, because Brian was mentioning, or Donovan was mentioning, that it felt so outdated, so dated, like that tribe from 20 years ago that is not trending anymore. But you can make it dark and still edgy, and I would like for them to go that road. So yeah.
Well, it's also with the MMO. Look at who they got to do be the environmental art lead. It was Thomas Holt, who came off of Dead Space. You're basically when you look at the art that was used for the MMO, the artists that they picked a lot of people who had experience with horror and kind of this alternative, the off-puttingness, so to speak. Thomas came from Dead Space, and Dead Space, when you sit there and go through it, there's a story about the lighting in it being inspired by the BART stations, which if you go to a BART station in the middle of the night is creepy as fuck. And you get the flickering lights. You saw, for people who saw the art demos that were publicly posted, you saw that very dark feeling, etc. A lot of it, I felt like, came out of Chicago by Night. The original Chicago by Night, where Chicago itself is a very dark city. Even in the best of brightest days, you still feel a little bit of the darkness there. I love Chicago to death, but it's always one of those cities that just has that underlying feeling because it's cold and windy, but we all love it. And you still got that feeling. It's not that that gothic feeling, that overwhelming feeling of there's still something underneath it that's just slightly wrong, even if the city's perfect.
All right, so now let's segue into his follow-up interview, which we had on worldofdarkness.news, which you can see on our site under the articles section. I did a follow-up interview with Martin, and I feel he did a pretty good job. We've all read it at this point, I'm assuming?
I didn't get all the way through it. I've been a bit busy.
Fair enough. But, I mean, you got the general gist. And I think he did a pretty fair job. I think he did a pretty fair job clarifying, explaining the nuances. The feedback I saw about this interview, it went over a lot better than the first interview, which arguably you could say he was a bit more abrasive. I personally think I don't subscribe to some of the feedback on the first one. I think it's cultural. I think he was just being very straightforward, very honest, and very blunt. And I think some people misinterpreted his tone and those nuances. I think they misinterpreted that as him being arrogant or as a know-it-all or what have you.
I have to say, as a non-native English speaker, I think that that might have been the case because the original interview was not in English, which was in Swedish. And I don't know Swedish, I don't speak any Swedish, but I can speak Spanish, and in Spanish we are so much more direct. So if we translate that directly into English, it can sound too abrasive and too in your face. Mm-hmm. So maybe with Swedish is the same thing. So I'm actually a bit worried about how I expressed myself before about, for example, the New World of Darkness, how it's sold and such, because maybe I was too in your face as well. It was not my intention, but it's culture. It's very difficult to change. It's nothing to be offended by. It's just our cultures are different, and maybe we don't express ideas the same way. Actually, when the first thing they teach you when you are learning English is that you have to be super, super polite. And that's, so, yeah, when you try to be natural and you are not that super, super polite in your language, and then you translate that into English without adding the politeness, thing on top of that, maybe you come across as too arrogant or something like that, but that's not intended. So
that was actually like
more people in this country need to take English classes again.
That was actually the issue so there immediately after that interview came out, there was a couple of the old World of Darkness White Wolf guys that I was talking to, and they're like, wait, I hope this is a cultural mistranslation because otherwise it sounds like I just got shit on.
when I first read it, granted I was taken aback at first, but then I just thought about it. I'm like, okay, he's from the Netherlands, if I remember correctly, right? Netherlands,
He's Swedish.
Swedish,
Straight up Swedish.
right? But he's he has those European sensibilities, European attitude, which I appreciate and I respect. My roommate for several years when I lived in Boston, he was from Eastland, so I very quickly came accustomed to those kind of European sensibilities, European way of communicating, and they're very forthright, very direct, and they're a lot of more times than not no nonsense. And so that's so putting in that context, I say okay, I can relate to that. Unfortunately, a lot of Americans don't have that kind of experience that some of us on this panel have, and so they took it for face value. He's being very abrupt
Yeah,
and very
I can just put an example of what's the difference between English and other languages. In English, you would say, "Can I have this book, please?" And in Spanish, you just say, "Give me that book." And
That's awesome. Give me that book now.
it's how it is. I mean, and in Spanish, you don't sound harsh or unpolite. It's just how
Right,
we
it's just the way it is.
so,
You know what it comes down to? We just blame the British on this one.
Yeah.
Can't really argue that. All right, so getting back to now our interview at World of Darkness News. Again, I think he did a very good job. Just a couple points I want to reiterate from the interview. Then I'll let you guys. We'll start with Donovan, and then we'll just we'll move over to everyone else. Couple things. He he did say he's hoping that whatever their incarnation of V4 is, it has some impact on the LARP. And we're going to talk about the LARP situation after this segment. So don't go too bad into the LARP. But he did say that he is hoping there is going to be some impact on the LARP community, which I found interesting. He mentioned some very interesting points about what he did for the MMO. And he briefly talked about some gaming mechanics. Let me just quote him, and then so we're all on the same page. I designed a hunting system, created subcultures for the kindred to influence and control in a procedurally simulated city and prototyped. There was this really cool system of quote-unquote fragments to spread V-lore and stories about the people of the street, and a number of storylines for that was written. It was exciting to work with new perspectives on World of Darkness. Let's just start off with those two topics, and then we'll hit the other two afterwards. So, Brian, what's your thoughts on the first half of that interview?
Pass.
Pass?
I have nothing to say about that.
All right, fair enough. Anyway, well, let's talk to our game designers. What do you?
I can't comment because I don't know who I don't know what I'm allowed to or not.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. D, save me, D, save me. Say something insightful.
So I was fortunate enough to play one of the alphas of the game at the time, but sadly I could not try these things that Martin mentions on his interview. But they sounded pretty exciting to me, and so I hope that someone, takes those ideas for
We're
future
we're still technically engaged on that too.
Just so I made sure I understood you correctly, you said you did play one of the early alphas?
Yeah, when I went one of the times I went to Atlanta, I went
It's still NDA.
for the V20 book, and I stayed there for several days, and they were super nice to me, and they showed me around the office and everything. And so at some point, Chris McDonald let me try the alpha, although it was not connected to to the network to the rest of the. So I was
Right.
trying an MMO all alone, which is a little bit sad. you know.
You realize how
Um,
jealous we are, right? You do
uh,
understand the amount of jealousy we have for you right now, right?
yeah, I mean, yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm in the same boat you are, which is I don't have a World of Darkness MMO to play, so.
Yeah, yeah.
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 Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, now the second part, which I think we'll all have a lot to talk about. I know Donovan's chomping at the bit for this part of the interview. I asked him about his "Gothic is dead" statement, and he
I
said,
thought we covered that.
"Well, no, the follow-up,
Uh,
to his answer." He did say is a bit of a provocative statement. Let's look closer. To us, Gothic punk is a great sensibility, extreme wealth contrasted with abject poverty, mean grimy streets and clinical penthouses, nihilism and religious fanaticism, so on and so forth. He goes, our current age is Gothic punk through and through. No added gargoyles needed. That underworld look feels really dated and not very exciting. Um, Though, however, I did say to him, so does this mean that vampires in their equivalent of V4 are going to be all running around with reverse baseball caps and sweatpants? And no, I mean, if you're saying Gothic punk, I mean, what's the aesthetic? That's ultimately what I was trying to get to. What's going to be the aesthetic of vampires? If you're killing Gothic punk, the aesthetic, maybe, I understand he's saying the attitude is alive and well, but the aesthetic, he seems to say they're putting the aesthetic to bed. And that's kind of my concern. He said, where did he say? He said, that's basically that aesthetic. There'll be some tinges of '90s fashion, but it's not going to be center point as it was in V20 and previous incarnations of Masquerade. But he also said on the flip side, reverse baseball caps are not needed. So I'd like to thought, what do you think the aesthetic is going to be then? I mean, he's saying basically the Gothic aesthetic is more or less, very toned down, but we're not, I mean, we're not going to look like the typical Joe Schmo walking down the street either. So, I mean, there has to be an artistic direction, right? I mean, you got to, especially if you're
Oh,
role-playing.
I think
okay.
they're going
No, I
for-
So
see.
what's the artistic direction?
I
What
think
do
they're
you
going
think
for
they are going?
gritty realism is what they're going for. I mean, look at things here in the United States. Donald Trump. Need I say more?
Right,
Done.
I've
Okay?
commented on
We're
that.
living in the world of darkness, okay? I'm dual citizenship in Canada. When that motherfucker wins, I'm leaving. Okay? I'm gone.
I think what he's referring to is the changes in alternative fashion. It was never about Gothic punk, it was about alternative punk. Which, when you look at the way that alternative fashion and alternative punk has changed, you're not looking at a traditional Gothic fashion. You're seeing hoodies and shirts or provocative shirts. You're seeing leggings with the J fashion tops.
Juicy
You're not.
pants.
No, that's still
I'm
mainstream.
seeing juicy pants, and I don't want to see juicy pants.
You're seeing juicy pants
I do
because
not
that's what you're
want to
looking
fucking
at.
see juicy pants.
That's what the only reason you see juicy pants is because you're too busy staring at girls' asses.
Yeah, stop it.
That is beside the point.
It's not.
That is totally beside the point.
You're seeing dye sublimation print leggings with light up tops and things like that. You're seeing editions of cyberpunk becoming reality. So it's not that it's Gothic punk, it's now that it's alternative punk. And it was always alternative punk because in the 90s, Gothic punk was alternative punk. So
And
it's
now it's
always
mainstream.
been about that. And now, well, it's kind of mainstream. But now you can introduce J fashion, you can introduce Korean fashion, the kind of Gothic Lolita along with regular Lolita in their works within the vampire world. You're also dealing with a whole slew of new styles coming in, but along with the fact it's just as much alternative to wear a geeky sweatshirt and a provocative T-shirt. So it's
But
I think it's going to change.
aren't you slowly crawling your way to Shadowrun territory, or what you're describing?
Have you seen this reality? You know how fast we're turning into Shadowrun? I am waiting for the day that I can be a Decker, okay?
I'm waiting for,
All right,
the
D,
Native Americans to start the Great Ghost Dance again.
Oh my God, D, I feel you have something to say. So we'll go to D,
Yeah,
then we'll go to
so
Patrick.
I think, well, actually, Martin himself mentioned that at the Tenebra Noctis is not, I mean, they're going to take the reality as it is, but they are going to focus on the interesting parts. So, reverse baseball caps aside, there are other interesting cultural trends that are happening, and I think they are planning on focusing on those ones. Like, for example, the ones that we can talk about that later when we get to the section about LARPs, but the ones that they are using for their first official LARP, which is the Berliners, the Burners, and the Finnish hip hop. So those three are some of the trends that they would be using, at least as a. Hey, Justin is
Michelle,
here.
Showed up.
did you do this?
No, I didn't! What the hell, Justin?
Justin? Really? That is
It
awesome sauce.
just doesn't have a mic on.
Click your microphone button.
Dun dun dun.
Nothing to do with this. I had nothing.
Michelle, you bad girl.
No, it is not me. I swear to God.
No
Oh,
camera.
yeah, I think he's muted. I think he muted himself. Or do I gotta unmute
Justin
him?
Heard
said,
there were free
he said
sandwich.
that there were free sandwiches here, so
Yeah,
that's why he joined.
it's showing. It's showing he's muted, but not on my end. It's
Well,
just
he
saying,
says that he doesn't
Yeah,
have.
it says
Hi,
it's not
Justin.
oh, I see.
Oh, great. This is where I get in trouble, isn't it?
No, it's awesome. Welcome, Justin. Glad to have you here. Your interview, and I was actually we were just finishing up talking about Martin's interview with us, and I was actually going to promo about your interview, which is now live on the site in just a moment. So really glad to have you here. Okay, so finally, let me just talk about this last part of Martin's interview. I asked him, what did he mean about their equivalent of V4 is going to be post Gehenna War with the War of the Graves of the Antediluvians? And he said, I asked him if he can give us any insight or clarification, because that definitely created a lot of speculation. And he said, not really. Exploring the truth about Gehenna is part of the mystery of Vampire, and we don't want to spoil that. Suffice to say, the final nights will have left a deep scar on the world, but to say the future is post-Gehenna or post-apocalypse is not correct. So,
Praise Cain and pass the ammo.
yeah. So, Patrick, we'll start with you. What do you think he means by that?
Ooh, I'm not really sure what to think of that. It's I don't know. It's kind of like I don't know if you've read the new By Night Studios LARP book.
So good.
Where I think the V20 does this too, where they talk about the Week of Nightmares, which began Gehenna, and then it's kind of just stopped or was stopped, and time kept going. I think it's going to be kind of not similar to that, but in the same kind of idea where this big event started, but it wasn't the world-ending event that they thought it was going to be. But regardless, it had huge ramifications on the vampire world. So I think that's kind of probably the direction they're going, but I have no idea what they mean about the Gehenna War, the Antediluvians, or and probably I don't know if they'll ever tell us.
Yeah, I think he's being vague on purpose. He's being a salesman. He's trying to pique our interest and get us to buy into the system before we ever have the opportunity to shell out any actual cash.
Yeah,
We got to hear some secrets.
Yeah. D, what are your thoughts about his response to that question?
I don't know what to think. He was very cryptic. It actually piques my curiosity. He managed to do that. So I think we'll just wait and see.
You have if you were to guess what direction they're going to be, what do you think what do you
Um,
think
I
he
don't
would do?
know. I don't know what can be crossing Crazy Martin's head right now. So, but I'm sure it will be super exciting.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
that's all I
Um,
can say. So,
Michelle, our other
Yes.
resident game designer. If let me put you, let's do a hypothetical. Um, Martin says, "Okay, I've made these statements. Now you got to bring them to reality. What direction would you take the game using that as a basis to design? To what are some of the ideas that would come off the top of your head of what you would do with the game?
Um, that's a big, broad statement.
That is a big, broad statement. Indeed, it is.
That there is multiple directions that you could possibly take it, but for me, I would need it to be narrowed down before I'd make a choice because you could take it. I'd still personally go Bloodlines 2 or redo the MMO just because it's something that can integrate with other possible options and with the IP. But once again, just because I don't want to theorize too much, just because.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
It's one of those things that when you say what he's made his statements, guessing on what the direction it could be taken without knowing budget, without knowing anything else. There are so many different possible options. That's why actually narrowing scope of what a game could be is actually helpful to a game designer.
Right.
So his statements are broad enough that I wouldn't even want to theorize because there's parts missing that are kind of
Oh,
important.
fair enough.
yes.
Fair enough. And the last thing I want to talk about is interview. I asked him, I was like, so which, maybe it's me. It seemed like he avoided the actual question. He gave me an answer, just not an answer to the question I asked. Excuse me.
Yeah, he
The one thing, yeah, he's apparently very good at that. The one thing I did ask him, and this is where this point of contention is, I was like, I said, getting back to V20, is that line development going to remain with Onyx Path, or are there any plans for any kind of White Wolf development of products for it? And then I said, how involved is White Wolf when it comes to V20 books? And then well, let me rephrase it. He focused more on the second part of my question, pretty much ignored the first part. He said a bit, we approve all art, text, etc. For Onyx Path. We worked on a few books to make sure they don't directly contradict future developments and inject some hints of things to come. We will step up that work substantially when we grow from being a 2 people on staff, which is great, and it answers the second part of my question. How involved are they with OP when it comes to developing books? But he totally avoided the sorry. He totally avoided the part of the question where I was like, what's going to happen future-wise with Onyx and V20. So I was just wondering, does anyone have any thoughts?
that sounds like contract negotiation talk stuff, and that it's still in negotiation, so he avoided the question.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think
there's a
that's
lot of
probably
stuff that
right.
could be up in the air still.
Okay, fair enough. Now we get to our good friend Justin Achille, which I'm so glad he's hanging out. Nice, great to have you here. Justin's interview is now actually live on World of Darkness. Folding laundry, very exciting.
Only game designer in the office this weekend? Damn it!
On World of Darkness.news, his interview with us is live. I don't. Again, I'm not sure how many of us have had a chance to check it out. But we talk about a lot of different things. But the one thing here I just want to pull up very quickly. Well, there's 2 things actually. The first thing is I wasn't aware he actually worked on Ravenloft, which I found fascinating, and I'd definitely like to pick his brain about that more. And I did ask him, does he think the revival of Wizards of the Coast, reviving the Ravenloft setting, does he think there was a direct connection to the newfound flame of interest of World of Darkness and what have you? And he said no. Generally speaking, he doesn't think there's a direct link, perhaps an ancillary, but not a direct link, which I found interesting. And the other thing which I think Donovan will love to talk about, I asked him why does he think there's this backlash about the archetypes of the clans, the whole they're stuck in the '90s Gothic punk approach, and he said I think this will actually be the challenges of White Wolf face not only bringing out new editions of World of Darkness, but reviving the World of Darkness so that it's relevant to modern times and modern transmedia formats like video games. While the clan identities themselves are rooted in the '70s to '90s counterculture, which is basically what Donovan was saying earlier, those identities need to renaissance with the ever-evolving world. Otherwise, the IP is going to find itself relegated to the role of nostalgia property. So, Donovan, he basically, it was like you and Justin, were mind melded.
Yeah, man, we shared a wavelength there. For sure. Yeah, no. It's evolve or die, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, my opinion, there's a certain level of nostalgia that's acceptable for World of Darkness, just because you are vampires, and vampires basically exist in nostalgia. Because
Right,
you're dealing.
yeah. It talks about them existing in a static nature, sure. But at the same time, if you are spending all of this time and energy to ensure that you aren't found out, especially in this day and age of like the constant media updates, you need to not stand out in any way possible, and that includes everything from fashion to mindset to staying up to date on being able to at least function in society. I mean, I know old people these days have a hard time with like smartphones and stuff like that, but they at least grasp the concepts, and I think that plays a lot into what a vampire mindset would be, because they don't understand how these things work, but they make an effort to get to that point so that they can at least function around them.
There's a great book called Everything That's Bad is Good for You. And it talks about the learning curve as you get older, etc., and how some people it levels off, and some of it actually does, or some people it keeps going up, and some people it levels off. And I think that's somewhat true in Vampire. The interesting thing with the movement towards it being more towards the modern era, when we also look at modern fashion with it repeating itself. We see repeats of the 60s and 70s, 80s, and I'm assuming we're going to see in the next few years 90s fashion come back. We've seen it a little bit already. Goddamn pants. Because of that, it's instead of it being adapt or die, and because vampires have so much power, etc., it's adapt your world or die. I think it'll be an interesting direction on how much is one way versus the other because of that. And just because the whole thing of control of society is a big part of being vampire. Is that whole controlling a section, controlling your surroundings, controlling government, etc. That was always a big power play. Was who do you bribe, who do you own, and due to that, that might be an interesting direction to take it too. That it may be stuck in the eternal 90s, or somewhat is a vampire stuck in the eternal 80s. But how can you adapt the society to accept that the eternal 80s are okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good points.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Dee, do you have? Patrick unfortunately had to leave, so I just want to thank Patrick, and hopefully we will see him for the next WoDCast.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah, thanks a lot. His insight was very interesting. Dee, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, nothing really to add to that. It was, yeah.
Okay,
What Miss Hess said.
all right, my Tremere friend. So, the other thing about Justin's interview, again, I'm just hitting excerpts. If for folks who want to read the whole thing, they can at worldofdarkness.news. It's very insightful. We hit a lot of different topics. These are just some of the highlights. One other thing I did ask him, I asked him why does he think the meta plot is so polarizing within the White Wolf community, and he said, games address a common set of human needs: mastery, autonomy, relatedness. However, not everyone's needs are the same or magnitude. A player who enjoys greater autonomy, for example, may not appreciate perceived constraints of the meta plot imposes. Other players may thrive on that structured autonomy and operated within the constraints the meta plot provides. Particularly if a common point of relatedness, everybody knows what the Camarilla is, comes as a result. More subjectively, some individual metaplot elements just may not satisfy a player's taste. If your favorite clan is Ravenos, say, you may not like the Week of Nightmares because your favorite clan suffered so greatly. Or you may really enjoy it because it establishes a new sense of rarity and thematic significance for you. It seems, just as a bigger picture, it just seems like as of late there seems to be a lot, and perhaps these were always there. They were just simmering under the surface, and now there's a new version coming out. All this is, the Pandora's box is proverbially opened, but it does seem as of late, I've read on the various message forums, it's a lot of people who are really kind of sticking it to the meta plot per se, and that's why I actually asked him this question. It seems like a lot of people, are. I mean, there are definitely people who like it, like myself. I'm not like, I don't want to marry it. I'm not totally in love with it. But on the flip side, I definitely it's a tool. It's a useful tool in my opinion. But there are some people who are totally adamantly against it. So I was just. And of course, then you get to that point where we were talking earlier about the 25 years of history within the lore of Vampire. It's built up to the point where, has it gotten to the point where it's just totally unmanageable? And do they got to reset it from from page one again, because it's become this almost octopus-like entity within the game that perceivably could just do nothing but hold it back. So we'll start with you, Michelle. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's gotten that bad. I mean, it's not Star Wars bad, and even Star Wars has been able. Yeah, well, Star Wars. Okay, when you look at it, for a great example of the spider web of clusterfuck of spider webs, Star Wars. I've heard both horror stories and great stories of working with Lucasfilm. And the whole, you have these plots that are supposed to go like this, when really they're going like that. Because there are these storylines that are supposed to just go at the same time, but they were done by 3 different companies, and there was only some control, or Lucas got too into it. I mean, there's a story of when they were making the prequels, of Elisa Kerr had a whole entire TV show after her, and Lucas just walked in and goes, "Kill her," and walks out. And what Lucas said goes. Versus when you're looking at the World of Darkness, it's been kind of in the same hands for long enough that even things that are considered, oh my god, crazy, like Dirty Secrets of Black Hand, which is not even that oh my god crazy, are still kind of, they still work. They still work within the universe, and they're not detrimental, but at the same time you can see where people could get mad. I think it's one of those things that it's not a reset worthy, but at the same time I could understand a reset. And just from a plot standpoint, they're still, it's one of those that they could do what they're currently doing with Star Wars, which is they roll it back and cut it off. Which I was very sad because I love Darth Talon, and that's legacy. But that's the whole thing, is that there's not a Hydra's head, so to speak, as much of it's just like a 4-headed dragon that you don't need to really cut it off as much.
And Justin commented in the chat room, we used to call it the wall of green marble when looking at the 100+ books on the shelf. Dee, you have any thoughts on this topic?
I'm very happy with my wall of green marble.
And my wall of green marble and my wall of black leather over here.
So Metaplot is something that I think was useful to create a sense of brotherhood among players from different countries. They wouldn't have anything in common except for that common setting. They could say, "Hey, what do you think about Mikavikas, for example?" And they had already something in common, even if they had never played any game together. So that's interesting. And at the same time, it's just a tool. If you like it, you use it. If you don't like it, you can just throw it away, and it's completely fine. So I always thought of it as a positive thing, that you could use if you liked, and if you didn't like it, okay, don't use it. You're not forced to, so that's fine.
Fair enough. Donovan, take this topic home, put it to bed. Final thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. The metaplot it's a tool like any other. If you're not metaplot centric, like I like having it there when I'm playing old world games because, it was such, a backbone structure to the entire system. But, I think that's why I love New World for what it is, because it's just a set of tools that give me complete autonomy, and I can create whatever, meta plot for whatever area I'm running a game in on my own, and I don't have to adhere to this world-encompassing plot that's happening, and I don't have to worry about antediluvians waking up and killing everyone if I don't want to, and, everything like that. So, yeah, it's just another tool in the box. It's a good thing sometimes, but it's like everything else, needs to be used judiciously. Soft resets need to happen. They happen all the time in the LARP because there's just too much information to process if we're like the last Chronicle ran for 7 or 8 years, and it was just too much. We had a soft reset during that point in time, like Michelle was talking about, shaving off parts of it, and then keeping the major points, but like the most recent stuff, getting rid of it. So all that needs to happen every once in a while just to refresh the system. But that's just my point of view.
Let me just pose this as the last point of this topic. Do you think, when looking at the, whatever, we're just, I know D, it's not really probably called V4 anymore, but we got to call it something. So so I'm just using V4 because everyone seems to know what the hell we're talking about when we say V4. But though you did, that is a valid point. It's even as a code name, that's probably not what it's called anymore at this point, but whether by the new owners. But anyway, again, just for simplicity, for communication's sake, I'm just still calling it V4. But Donovan, do you think when all is said and done, do you think there's going to be a change or a reset or some sort of significant edit to the metaplot in V4?
I do. I think they would be. I think they almost have to at this point.
And let's just very quickly, like in just one or two sentences. D, what's your thoughts on that? Yes or no about?
So yeah, I think they're going to change things there, just because Martin said that Metaplot was going to be players driven rather than NPCs driven. So there are some changes coming up, definitely. So.
And Michelle.
There's definitely changes, but I'm just gonna go with definitely changes.
Fair enough.
Right.
All right, so the rest of the interview, let me just say the rest of the interviews, worldofdarkness.news, very insightful, very informative. I really want to thank Justin again for all his time.
Thanks, Justin.
It was awesome. We talk about many other things about where he sees himself in 5 years in the industry.
That was my question.
Yes. What he thought about the purchase of Paradox for the of White Wolf, what his thoughts and his regrets about what happened with Requiem and how it didn't catch on as he intended. So a lot of really good topics and a lot of insight. So definitely anyone who's watching this, definitely go check out his interview, which is now live on worlddarkness.news. So next topic. And this is where I'm going to let you guys mostly go at it, since I'm mostly the tabletop guy. LARP things. Now, I asked you guys pre-show for some feedback, things you guys want to talk about, and Downey gave several things she wanted to address about what's going on with LARP. Basically, she wanted to bring up some points about I don't want to say World by Night. What do I want to say?
Mindset Society?
No. The
End of the line?
No. The guy's making the LARP game.
By Night Studios?
By Night Studios. Thank you. Want to bring up some topics about By Night Studios. Basically, you said there was some controversy about some of the werewolves specifically. There were some controversies there, so I'll let you take it from here, Dee.
Okay, so Biden Studios have recently successfully closed their Kickstarter campaign for Mindset Theater Werewolf, and there is some controversy around the new book that they're going to release. And I would like to talk about that, just to see what you think about that, guys, because I don't think this controversy is so well. I don't know what's the the problem with those. One of the things some of the people are complaining about is the Black Furies accepting men within their files, within their ranks, and and the other thing is the kinfolk now, if they are beaten, they can either die or become a Garou themselves. So
Can we start with, as a request, can we start with the second topic? Because I want to see if Justin can weigh in on this, because he actually worked on Ravenloft before. The bitten werewolves versus the ones born into the line. If we start talking about old school D&D, second edition D&D, they came out with a Von Richten's guide to the lycanthropes, and there were a bunch of other ones too. But there was a separation between werewolves that were infected versus natural-born werewolves, and I personally think that they need to stay away from that in World of Darkness. I think that the natural-born werewolves, super cool. Let's stay with that. But if we bite people and they become infected, it just sounds like a real problem.
People, which is not normal people,
Kinfolk are different, and it does give another avenue for character creation, along with the fact that does also open up, if you have a character that is coming in mid-game, as a new player, that opens up an avenue to where you can be an even level with longtime players, which then evens out the kind of playing field and also makes it a lot easier to reduce the learning curve when you're introducing new players into a LARP.
Yeah, also,
don't you think the kinfolk is close? I'm sorry for interrupting. Don't you think the kinfolk is really close to wolf-blooded from Forsaken?
It is, but at the same time, we're still talking about a fantasy universe, so.
Yeah, the thing about Werewolf the Apocalypse that I was always missing is that whereas Vampire the Masquerade uses all of the well-known myths about vampires, Werewolf was missing this one, the one about the bite. So now they just incorporated it, and for me it's not that odd actually, and it's not anyone, it's kinfolk, and those guys. I mean, the main thing that has been said against this is that but the Garou Nation are getting is getting smaller and smaller, so that's the problem. They're going extinct, and they still have to fight this big fight. And when I read these complaints, I always think, yeah, but I mean, if you buys a kinfolk in the hopes of turning him or her a Garou, and it dies, this kinfolk is not going to have any more Garou descendants. So that's a problem, and it's going to contribute to shrink the Garou population, which is the point. So I don't think that's a valid argument against it. Maybe any other arguments. Then an argument that has been mentioned for this bike thing is that it's so female players, some of them don't feel really good if they are playing female Garou characters. They're pressured into having children because that's what they need to do, because the population is shrinking, so you need to reproduce. And pregnancy is not super fun, to play. So if that's it, if that's the only avenue, then it gets boring for half of the players, and that's maybe not very clever. So
Cool.
It also, since it does allow for more variety of play, since you're talking with kinfolk, it also becomes an equalizing factor in having LGBT players, because the kinfolk are much more, at least from my interpretation, are much more open to alternative lifestyle, or not alternative, but just different lifestyles. So when you have them brought into the Garou Nation, it also creates a whole new structure there that you wouldn't see elsewhere. Same with kind of the Black Furies point, too, which I guess we're going to get into next. But with the Black Furies point of it being all female, there was, I know for a while, a debate. I've been out of the LARP loop for a while just because with job hunting and being sick. There was a whole argument about whether trans women were could be considered part of the Black Furies. By allowing them to have males in the Black Furies, you then also open it up to make a more also inclusive kind of faction in that way too, because there's no longer a debate there, and there's no need to say, or no need for actually proving yourself in that way, which I completely agree with, since a big part of the World of Darkness has always been that it's no matter what you are, no matter what you identify as, you're still, this world's so fucked up it doesn't matter in the end anyway.
Yeah, it's a very inclusive game in general. And if we were talking earlier about Vamp the Masquerade and One World of Darkness being brought to the 21st century, I think this is another thing that is bringing, werewolves to the 21st century. I mean, it's not like being a Black Fury. Do you have a penis? Oh, then you cannot be a Black Fury, even if you feel like a woman. I think that's something very, and it can. So I don't think that's just very modern, so to speak.
I also completely apologize for the narwhals in the new werewolf book. That was my fault. The entire narwhal thing was completely my fault. Well, not completely. I'll blame Jimmy on that one too.
Yeah. So Justin is saying that part of the World of Darkness DNA is to challenge people's perceptions, and yeah.
Justin, just so you guys know, he's had a little bit of input in the chat room, so I don't know if you guys noticed it or not.
Yeah, I don't know if the live feed can show the chat or not, but here's what he's been saying. In terms of D&D, he's talking about the difference between infected and natural-born werewolves. This is to keep a distinct split between creature types, and it makes the players question whether or not they're dealing, or how to deal with the challenge. And in World of Darkness, it's intended to keep A, player options open, and B, maintain an integrity of the world lore. Then Downey just said part of the World of Darkness DNA is to challenge people's perceptions, and she was getting on that about people necessarily being, and Michelle mentioned it too, transgender, or they felt that they were a woman at heart and they weren't necessarily equipped with the same biology, he's continuing to write. An idea being met with controversy is better than benign, or I think he meant benign, with apathy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although
no, benign is delicious.
You know.
So he
um,
basically says that it's better
Justin,
to have
all I gotta say is,
controversy.
Justin, you better register on World of Darkness News because you are so entertaining. I swear. I just post random feedback to whatever the hell you want to. It's so entertaining reading your stuff. But anyway, I digress. Go. Sorry, guys. Didn't mean to. I just had to interject that. Go ahead. Go ahead, Donovan.
Uh, sorry, I totally derailed my train of thought.
Yeah, I'm good at that.
Yeah, you've got a
Yeah,
talent.
maybe
Yes, I do.
it's just
One of my many
Jasmine
useless talents.
saying that it's better to create controversy than being met with apathy, which is
Yeah,
like that's
Yeah.
bland and that's completely uninteresting. So yeah.
and I think that goes to speak to both of the interviews that Peter's posted down is that both of them have said in one way or another that the controversy, whether or not you're for or against something, only makes the IP better when people talk about it and discuss it. You know, even if it's coming from a place of anger.
There's no such thing as bad PR.
Yeah.
No. 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 I mean, there is PR that might
There's
give you
PR
a headache. That yeah,
that's bad PR.
right, exactly. Totally agree, 110%. Because I've been on both sides of that, and absolutely. And I just don't mean, and I'm not even talking about the site. I'm talking in real life. When I owned my business, I owned a New Age occult shop in Salem. And let me say, Salem, you think you think the gaming community is a drama fest? Go open up a retail store in Salem, Massachusetts, and you'll see
I have
drama.
been
So
cautious with like stuff and like posting even on our forums and things like that because I'm like I don't want to screw anything up. I'm new at this.
um, so with that said, so with that said, also I want to bring up something interesting because as I said, to be quite honest, I find Werewolf interesting, but I've never actually played even the tabletop version. My only exposure to Werewolf is what has ever been included in the Vampire game.
Werewolf's struggling in the LARP right now.
And yeah, that's the thing I wanted to bring up and have you guys discuss. Um, the Kickstarter for By Night Studio for the new Vampire did awesome sauce.
That's great.
Werewolf barely made it across the finish line.
No, that's not true. I mean,
Is that true?
Right?
they were well over their goal.
Were they?
They got 90K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, maybe
No,
maybe I
they did
did look
fine.
at it. Maybe when I looked at it was.
The finish line because there was a not written stretch goal that Jeffrey Fowler had to get a narwhal tattoo if it hit 90K.
Oh,
Ah,
my mistake. My mistake. But what's still a valid statement? Let me rephrase that, and I stand corrected. The Masquerade still did. I know did better than Werewolf, right?
It did
Fairly
uh,
well.
Yeah.
yeah.
Fairly
Oh,
well.
there's a tablet.
So why do you think that? But basically, my question is why do you think that is? Why? I mean, what is it that in the Werewolf LARP that didn't there wasn't that connection that there was with the Vampire?
okay,
I think
so
that's kind of to be expected.
here's the final numbers for Werewolf 20. 2,108 backers pledged $380,015 to bring us Werewolf 20.
Oh.
So they did fine. They did
Oh
fine.
no, I'm sorry. Maybe I wasn't being clear. I'm talking about the LARP, not the tabletop.
Oh, well, I mean, it is struggling in the LARP, but I think if we see a redo on the rules, we're going to see a resurgence like we did with the BNS rules of Vampire the Masquerade. And yeah, like that game is going gangbusters now. Everybody loves that, at least in my
I've only heard
little
positive
corner of the
things.
world.
I've only heard positive things about the LARP version of Masquerade. I have yet to find someone who's like legitimately seriously critical over it.
But the thing is, I was expecting that kind of numbers because for Spanish-speaking countries, we also had crowdfunding campaigns for Vampire and for Werewolf, not for the LARP, but for the tabletop. But anyway, we were expecting to make 60 or 70% with Werewolf than we did with Vampire. So that's what the By Night Studio guys made. So I think it's completely normal, actually.
Oh, you think that was basically their projections where they were going to be?
Yeah, I mean, I think they could have been better. I'm sure of that. I actually thought that it would have been super awesome to cross that 100K line,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, it was in the lines that I was expecting, so
All
it was not
right.
really a surprise.
No, I lost my train of thought. I was going to ask you something about the. Do you think some of these rule changes and things you brought up earlier, do you think that might have contributed to to the final numbers of the Vampire LARP game?
Maybe when you try to be bold with your game design, these kind of things can happen. So maybe it affected. It might be, yes. But yeah.
Final thoughts on this, Brian?
Yeah, no, I think we covered it.
All right. Was there anything else, D, you wanted to cover on the LARP front?
From the LARP front, I think we should talk about End of the Line, which is the first White Wolves official LARP ever. So it's happening in 2 days' time in Helsinki.
Yeah, that's exciting.
For those, Brian, for those people who aren't aware what you guys are talking about, just give a brief synopsis.
I think Downey might do a better job, but
Okay.
it's a really in-depth, very immersive LARP that they're setting up in Helsinki, like Downey said. And here, let me just read what it says on the website for people that might be experiencing this specific type of LARP for the first time. Now, mind you, there are distinct differences, which I already was talking to her before the broadcast about, between like a LARP setting that you would see here in the U.S. and a LARP setting over there in Europe. Here, Into the Line is a vampire LARP designed from the ground up to utilize the best elements of Nordic LARP to give you a intense personal experience. You'll be cast as either one of the kindred or a mortal to step into the world of darkness that might be the world you already live in. Life is not easy in a world filled with undead monsters, and when every risk brings a sweet reward, you might think that survival is overrated. One thing is certain, you will be hunted or the hunter. The question is, how do you know? Into the Line will be quite physical. You, of course, set your own boundaries, as always, but you have the option to opt out of the scene. However, it's possible you might witness actions such as kissing, nudity, or face slapping. Okay, so it's
They're going hardcore.
Yeah, they don't fuck around.
That's how Nordic LARP works. So
And that's pretty standard.
And it's very different here in the
That's
U.S.
not the LARP. So for example, this LARP is going to last for only several hours, but there are LARPs that can last, I don't know, 48 hours straight. So you go to sleep as your character. You don't go to sleep as Peter, Donovan. So no, you're still your character. So if someone wakes up in your sleep, you are your character because you're still in the game.
That is hardcore.
Well,
Yes.
if we want to equate it, Boffer LARP is a lot like that. There are a lot of Boffer LARP settings where they go for like the entire weekend, and you are in character the entire time when you are on the premises. So
I think that's how the Grand Masquerade should be.
Oh, that sounds like a bad idea, because you know what, that there would just suddenly just be a whole bunch of pregnant people in the club afterward. Just saying.
You just throw that out there?
Yeah.
But
Juaninos.
on a serious note, though, it does sound very intense and does sound very interesting.
It is very intense. So just to clarify, not the whole Europe plays like this. It's just the Nordic countries. Although there are initiatives in the rest of Europe, like there are in the US for Nordic style LARPs. So yeah, but here we take it. So in the rest of Europe, we take it easier, and we are not as much rules oriented as the US is, because for us, what you do with the kill boxes is just crazy, and we don't even have that concept over here.
Right.
And it's more immersive, but of course not as much as Nordic LARP, where I mean, it's rules. Well, there are not really rules, and it's super immersive. It's yeah. So they have these concepts, which is bleed, which is when what happens to your character affects you so much that it goes into a very deep layer of yourself, and you get to know yourself better through the game. So it's like yeah, actually some of the Nordic LARPs are designed by psychologists, for example, or
I did not know that.
sociologists as well. So because it's interesting to see, you know, to play a little bit a little bit with the mind and with the reactions from the people, and it's interesting.
Yeah, just to be Justin's parrot a little bit here, because he's posting in the chat here. He says he thinks it also brings to light the various human needs that are satisfied by playing games. For some, the relatedness comes in games, so players stay in character as long as possible for those related interactions. For others, the relatedness comes in knowing that there are other players present to play, and so they enjoy mingling with those players outside the construct of the characters. So, yeah, good points.
Absolutely.
Yep,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think it comes. It really brings to light the difference between like the Nordic games, for example, and the games here at the U.S. Because I know for sure that a lot of players, my wife included, when she comes to games, she'll spend most of her time in the out of character room and just enjoy speaking to people, you know, who enjoy the same hobbies.
Hmm.
She's not nearly as
Michelle adds, by the way,
involved.
it relates to what you're mentioning. It's also an aspect of some players use LARPs as their only way of social interaction. So
That's a
that
valid.
happens as well.
Yeah.
So
Now, D, it was funny. Well, not funny, but I was surprised, I should say, um, when I got the my V20 book, and I got home. I was able to actually go through it. I saw that you had a little blurb in the very beginning of it.
yeah,
And
the
this is
forward.
segueing basically into exactly what Michelle's talking about. And, you said that, I don't have it right in front of me, but to paraphrase something, you basically said that, you had some social anxiety issues, and that
Not exactly. No, I'm a very extroverted person, but I have mild Asperger's syndrome, which is
that's what it was.
uh,
I'm sorry.
yeah. So yeah, it's not social anxiety at all, but it's the socially accepted norms don't come natural to me.
Not yet. Finishing up my,
Michelle is here. Michelle is
which
back.
all my shit died first. So all my tablets died, and then so I don't have audio. So I'm just typing, and then Justin Achilles showed up, and I was like, what?
She
Michelle,
actually does have audio.
she does have. You do. We do hear you.
What the fuck? It's actually working.
You don't have video.
Yeah, no video but audio, but that's fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, D. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. We didn't mean to
No.
Oh, God damn it.
But we can hear you, Michelle. FYI.
Yeah, okay, well, it was supposed to be muted, so I don't know what happened there. Because it said it, no, because it's still showing as I don't have a mic.
Google sucks. Let's just establish that. And
Yeah.
so
Today
go ahead, Dee. You
social.
were saying a touch of Asperger's and
So yeah, so for the mild Asperger's syndrome, it was very useful for me to get to role play a lot. And then even if I still wouldn't, wouldn't. It's not that I don't accept social norms or anything. It's just that they look very artificial to me, so they don't come natural to me. But through playing role-playing games, I got used to them, and I was even seen as normal. So that then when I told people, yeah, I have this mild Asperger's syndrome, they would say, no, you're totally fine. And it's like, I mean, it's not that you are not fine if you are Asperger's or anything, but yeah, I mean, I now can pass as normal, as a regular
well,
person.
first of all, normal is
But
relative. Let's just be
but the
honest
thing
there.
is,
That's all relative. So
role-playing games are in general are crucial to learn to relate to other people from other cultures, other walks of life, to train your diplomacy skills, for example. This is something that here in Europe, some of our politicians and diplomats use to polish their skills.
yeah.
So, you see?
Yeah. No, I find that a fascinating story, and and I think that goes back to what you and some of the other folks were saying earlier about some of these LARPs, and you could also argue tabletop as well. Being they definitely have a very significant social impact on people, and definitely an impact on their social on their social skills. To a perceivable degree that spills over into their real life. And I've always been a big proponent of role-playing games, especially to teenagers, young teens, because I really feel that that's not only is it fun as such, but it also helps. It also helps with their social interactions and with their and developing those social skills. And as you were alluding to, people who have some difficulties on some level, it can definitely help you with that. And for the record, I would for whatever quote unquote normal is, you seem like a great extrovert to me. I don't I don't see what the
Thank you. I think completely normal, like flatline normal, is super boring. So
oh,
I'm
absolutely.
just very happy to be who I am. So,
Look at me. I mean, hey, talk about the opposite
You
of
saw
normal.
me. I don't function like the reason why I do the leggings and usually I probably overdo my makeup, etc. is because I'm an extrovert, but I'm an introverted extrovert in that like when I talk to people, I am overcompensating for the fact that I am terrified out of my mind. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
the fact is, like my first week here at Obsidian, I was freaking terrified because like everybody, I was like, oh God, what am I being social and stuff? And I've over the years forced myself when I'm in new social situations to instead over communicate instead of like hide in a corner and cry. But yeah, I mean, LARPs. I
but
get
role-playing does help to develop your social skills.
Yeah.
It's I think it's a great tool, and more
Absolutely.
people should know about this. So
So
it,
yeah.
I
it
totally agree.
really is.
All right. Last. We're going for a marathon episode here.
God.
I know, but being our first one back after 2 years, fuck it.
I gotta get lunch here in a bit before QA comes in.
Yeah,
Weren't
so
you eating breakfast when we started?
Yeah, we were, because it's noon now, and
Okay.
all my tablets
Let's
died,
get
and then
this
I was
on
trying
the
to
road.
avoid using my work computer, but that didn't work.
okay, just the very last thing. Last topic. We'll talk about this, and and we'll talk about this, and we'll just talk about the We'll wrap it up at the Grand Masquerade.
Please.
Tabletop. Latest tabletop books discussion, brief reviews. Anyone want to talk about any vampire books that they've recently gotten they want to talk about, give their impressions with?
Oh, vampire books? No.
Whether, I mean, if you want to, recreate, whatever. I mean,
No,
well, let me put it
I'm not just
any
talking
White
about
Wolf
rec
book,
ones though. I mean,
any
honestly,
White Wolf book, any
I've
White Wolf
been,
book. We'll put it that way, any White Wolf book.
I haven't bought any new White Wolf books lately. I've been looking at other systems. Like I mentioned it briefly earlier. Like I'm really excited about the Tavern Tales book that there is on Kickstarter right now. If you haven't checked that out, you should.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't bought a whole lot of new books lately. I did get like every Pathfinder book known to man because which was on Humble Bundle lately. You should check that out. Check that out on Humble Bundle. Uh, it's a super great deal. I've got like almost $400 worth of books for
Nice.
nothing.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
just
I
in
got it for
time
like
for the
20 bucks.
Pathfinder card game coming out at this end of this month on
Yeah.
tablet.
I wonder who's working on that.
I wonder who.
D, any books, any role-playing books you
So
want to...
I buy all of World of Darkness books that are coming. So I'm just so happy that we are. I still, 5 years after the V20 book, I cannot still believe that we are having the books again.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
buying all of them.
I'm buying all of them. Awesome.
And I'm also buying the Chronicles of Darkness books, and I think they're pretty good. So yeah, I'm very happy that White Wolf has now two big worlds. I'm not saying they don't have Exalted, they do, but like this split that has happened, and they have their own entity now, and I think that's a great thing. And yeah, and the last book that I have bought has been yesterday or the day before yesterday was Dreams of Avarice, and I also bought my print on demand Lore of the Clans while I wait for my deluxe version.
I know.
And
I'm waiting for my deluxe too, and I refuse to look at the PDF. I'm waiting for the book.
yeah, that's
I'm
the thing.
going.
I need to first have a look at the the pages and smell the pages. I love that.
Yes, thank you. D,
Yeah.
I'm feeling a connection between us right now. I'm feeling.
Careful.
I mean, I'm a super
Brian,
person.
shut up.
I love
I'm
everything.
having a moment with my internet crush here. Just
It's
calm down.
it's okay. I'm the exact same way, and I get shit for it because like my office has like I like the physical books, and everybody else has everything on PDF, and I'm like, no, I want to sit here in the corner of my office and read the books and do it that way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. So I got the PDF. It's been sitting on my hard drive for months.
Yeah.
But I'm refusing to. No, I just it's not the same sitting there and hitting the little arrow button while reading it. It's just it's not a visceral experience.
Yeah, in my case, now we are going to start its translation, Lord of the Clans. So I'm kind of, no, I don't want to look at it. I need the proper book, But yeah, we're starting the translation in Spanish.
Oh, good. Well, that's good. Yeah. So hopefully by the next WoDCast we'll have our books and we can actually give a little review and talk about them a little bit.
Yeah,
Because they should be shipping because they're at the printers right now. So in about 3-4 weeks we should have them by the time we do the next WoDCast.
I think we also should mention that Mage the Ascension 20th anniversary edition
Yes.
is platinum bestseller on drive-thru, so they are doing very good. So
even though it's not my cup of tea, Mage has a huge following from what I've seen.
Cool game.
Huge following.
Yeah, and Phil Brocato did an awesome job. So I mean, a titanic job, I would say. Every time he would show the pictures from the Mage 20 book, it's like this this big, this high is like, oh my goodness. And yeah, it's 700 pages with very small font as compared to Vampire, for example.
Hmm.
And there are several other mage books that are doing great as well. So
Oh,
yeah, and Mage 20, how do you do that? Has just been released in print on demand, just in case people want to know. And,
Awesome. Yeah, if you're in a mage, you definitely got to check out these 20th anniversary books.
mhm.
They did a Did they do a Kickstarter for Wraith, or am I imagining that?
Not yet.
No.
Oh, there's just talk about it,
In the
right?
works.
No, Dansky's currently writing it.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Uh,
they are. So it's in the works. All right.
yeah, but it's in the works. But the Kickstarter already happened.
Oh, it
So
did?
That's what I was
yeah,
gonna say. I
yeah,
thought I remember seeing
yeah.
something about
Yes,
Did
yes,
it? I missed Wraith? God damn it. Damn it.
yes. Yeah,
You
Well,
missed it, Michelle. You
Wraith
missed
is one of my
I
favorites. That
missed it
pisses me
too.
off. I didn't know I missed it. I know Dansky was writing it, but I didn't know that I missed the Kickstarter. God damn it.
I
yeah.
see.
It's
Yeah.
maybe you could still get deluxe edition, on eBay, because there are always some people that
Oh
will buy more than one
That's
book.
either
Just
eBay or, I'll throw something at Eddie.
yeah.
That's usually my go-to.
All right, and final topic, guys, and we'll wrap it up. This epic episode number 9 of the WoDCast, Grand Masquerade 2016. Are we all going?
See you
Yes.
there.
Yeah, I'm going. Of course, I'm going. I have my Grand Masquerade T-shirt today
I
from
know.
2010. Yes,
That's awesome.
I love it. Of course, I'm going. Everyone should go.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I get to meet my internet friend finally. Are you going to hang out with Donovan and I? D, you going to hang out with us?
If I'm going to
Party?
hang
You're on the
out
spot.
with everyone that comes. Of course, I mean,
Yes,
with
I'm
the
putting her on the
thousands
spot.
of people that I
Damn it,
expect that
she's
will
gonna
be
hang out
joining.
with us. Damn it, and she's gonna drink.
I'm actually very curious to know if Justin will be joining us or not. Because
I
He's out of the chat already. He
Yeah.
got out of chat when I screwed up and didn't know my mic was working.
I did I ask him that in his interview? I'm pretty
don't know.
sure, and I don't think he quite answered, if I recall correctly.
Not
Look at the
sure.
interview.
So
I'm
maybe
pretty
he's
sure I
still
did ask him
thinking
about is he
about
going to
it.
be a Grand Masquerade, and I don't believe he answered it
We'll
like
track him
directly.
down.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'll be there.
Yeah, he has to be. I mean, that's just
Yeah,
wrong.
I'm asking because I mean, DJ Achilles is this super amazing DJ of the Succubus Club that I'm just.
I've heard these
It's
stories.
one of the
So,
best things of the Grand Masquerade is to have him there. So
Yeah.
no pressure, Justin. Sorry.
all right. So, and you said you're going, Michelle?
Yep. I got
Awesome.
written that either I'm going or I'm getting kidnapped.
Awesome.
So,
I'm looking
yeah.
forward to it. Yeah, all of us, we got all hang out. That's the bottom line. We got all hang out. And drink libations and get in a whole bunch of trouble. That's
I mean, it's New Orleans. That's what it's for.
yeah.
I live in LA. I haven't gotten in trouble yet somehow.
Well,
What?
then we will correct that. We will
You're
correct
doing
that.
LA wrong.
Yeah. Well, first of all, yes, you're doing LA wrong. A. But B, when you hang out with us, Michelle, we'll square you away. There won't be none of that crazy talk of, being a good girl. None of that. We're all going to be all liquored up. That's the bottom line.
That's just
He'll
normal.
be all liquored up.
Well, yes,
I'll
I
be there
will
to
be all
keep him
liquored
in-
up.
I'll be there to keep him in line, and my wife will be there to keep me in line.
Yeah. So, but in all seriousness, I am absolutely looking forward to seeing you, Down A. I'm looking forward to seeing you, Michelle, and of course Brian. I can't wait to hang out with you folks.
It's going to be super amazing.
It's
I
gonna
mean,
be
I
awesome.
can't
It
wait.
is.
It's
So
like-
let me just ask, talk about this. What is what's the main thing you're looking forward to? Because I mean, a list of events and such hasn't been, isn't out there yet. They're obviously still working on it. So what's the one thing you're looking forward to the most or hoping that transpires during this Grand Masquerade?
Paradox announcements.
Yep. That and
Straightforward.
a concrete schedule of upcoming releases.
Books and such. Yep. What
Yeah.
about you, D? Same thing?
So it's several things because for me it's about the whole experience. The two Grand Masquerades 2010, 2011 were two of the happiest moments in my life. So I mean, it's so yeah. So it's about just being there. Of course, Paradox announcements, White Wolf announcements are going to be something. Well, one of the big highlights.
Right.
Also, if Justin could come and DJ for a bit, that would be also great. Believe it or not, I mean, it's one of the experiencing the whole Grand Masquerade and ending up with the Succubus Club with DJ Achilles is just the most perfect thing ever. And I'm also looking forward to the panels, which is something that I've noticed not many people value in the US just because you've had those forever, like
Yeah.
being in touch with the writers, with the developers, with the artists and such. But we haven't had those in Europe, so that's one of the highlights. I mean, we did that for the Tenebra Noctis and also previously for an event that I organized as well in Madrid in 2014. Justin came to that one as well. But it's not the same because I mean the New Lens is very at hand for most of the people that throughout the years have collaborated in World of Darkness, so they tend to go more, so it's easier to get to see them
Mhm.
and talk to them. It's pretty amazing. I mean, as I said, you're already used to that, but here in Europe we are not. That's why we were demanding a European Grand Masquerade just to have a little bit of that flavor. So for me, it would be panels, it would be games, particularly the By Night Studios game, in which people from different clubs and troops are joining. So that adds a lot to the experience because it's different ways of playing, different ways of seeing the game. I hope that many people from outside the US or Canada join as well, both from Latin America and from Europe. For me, that's very important. It has to be this international World of Darkness experience, because it's a great IP, so it deserves something like that. So yeah, the panels, the games, the social interaction with people from all over the world, sharing this passion that we have. Of course, the parties, and I'm probably missing something, but I mean, those would be my 4 main things. And I think it's just, the whole experience. I know I'm preaching a lot about this, but it's just that I think it's super awesome, and everyone should come. If you don't have enough money to go on holidays and come to this, go on holidays to the Grand Masquerade. That's the best thing. So,
Absolutely.
Yep, that's what we're doing.
Yep. I'm working like a madman now, so that's my thing.
I work like a madman all year, so
You do, dude.
it's just
me
regular.
too, so.
We got a month or less than a month now until a release, so hence I'm working on it.
Yeah, so Michelle, pimp your thing. Do it.
So March 29th is the release of Pathfinder Adventures, based on the Pathfinder Adventure card game. iPad and Android tablets get to enjoy my crazy system stuff I've been doing because they hired me as a systems designer. Yay!
Yeah.
It's free, and then you can get the various adventure expansions that come with, or that were not come with. You could buy on additional to the original base set. So it's based off the Pathfinder Adventure card game, and we've got all kinds of fun little additions to it that I can kind of sort of talk about, but you can find out more in the AMA and our various forum stuff too from Obsidian Entertainment.
Awesome.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to seeing some demos and definitely checking it out.
We actually had a Twitch stream of the lead designer playing it along with one of our artists and our producer sitting there making funny voices over all the characters. And him killing Ezrin versus I always kill Lem because I am terrible with bards. So it's going to be up on Obsidian Plays, and I think we're streaming it again here soon. So, and there was also talk of Onyx Path versus Obsidian Street Fighter, so we'll see if that comes to fruition.
Nice. Looking forward to that. All right. I guess that's it. I want to definitely thank each and every one of you. I really appreciate it, and Patrick as well, who had to unfortunately leave a little early. I think we did pretty well for WoDCast number 9 after being out for 2 years. I'm glad to be back. Of course. So, Mr. Borders, how can people reach you, get in touch with you? Final words.
Well, you can always get in touch with me through the World of Darkness News website, worldofdarkness.news, and I am also on YouTube. I have my own channel, and I stream weekly Pathfinder games through YouTube, and I'm also on Facebook as Brian Borders, and you can contact me that way, but I don't do the Twitter.
No Twitter for the Donovan.
No Twitter.
Apparently, the Ventru are boycotting that. Apparently, that's a thing.
Well, don't take me as like the head of the clan. I don't make those decisions. Okay, I'm just middle management.
Downey, my good friend, my internet crush, my favorite Tremere of Europe. How can people get in touch with you, and any final words?
So I am on Twitter. My username is Daune, so pretty straightforward. I'm also on Facebook, so it's my user is daune.the.beer. So well, I think if you type Daune, several come up, and one of those is me. It has my picture, so no difficult to get to me. And you can also get in touch through V20 Europe, which is this Facebook group, Facebook page devoted to everything World of Darkness and now Chronicles of Darkness as well. So every piece of news from Paradox, White Wolf, Binary Studios, Onyx Path, any clubs either in America or Australia or Europe. It's like, for example, because I was talking here, I didn't announce this. I didn't share the link. I tried, but I couldn't find it. So yeah, so I'll just post the link so that they can see what we've been talking about. And so, but if anyone has any event coming up or any piece of news that they want to share, they can write to me, and I can share that on V20 Europe.
Awesome. And I just want to say I'm totally baffled. There's more than one person with Downey as a first name. That maybe I'm the only one, but I find that perplexing. But okay.
I'm not that original, in the
end. Stop it. And my BFF Michelle. What's going on with you? Where can people find you? Pimp out anything else? You know the deal.
Easiest place to find me is at MMOGirlKai on Twitter. You can also find me on the Obsidian Pathfinder forums, where I will. I'm the vague one because I'm very chicken shit. I will just say that. But MMOGirlKai on Twitter is the easiest place to find me.
All right, and see Donovan, she does the pipes of the Twitter, and she's awesome. So there.
Well, I'm not
you will
awesome.
see me.
Haven't we covered that already?
Yeah, but you can see me on Twitter, like, harassing Eddie and other people, because that's what I do on Twitter.
Yes.
Nice.
The Twitter.
Eddie needs harassment for sure.
Yes.
Yes, he does.
All right. Well, Dee, Brian, and certainly Michelle, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys will be back for the next WoDCast in 3-4 weeks.
Not me. I quit. Just joking.
Sad face.
No, I'm messing with you.
I know. So thank you again so much. This will be posted online on YouTube and also on the website, worldofdarkness.news. So definitely check it out, register, interact. We're rebuilding the old MMO community and getting some new folks as well, LARPers, tabletoppers, and that. So definitely check that out. So thank you all again. Thank you for watching. And this is Harlequin from World of Darkness News signing off. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.